My name is Angela. I'm a wife, mom, writer, and photographer behind the blog Crown and Countryside. Join me on my quest to create a slower life with natural food and homemaking.
I've had this front garden bed for about 10 years now, and I've just been loving filling it up with herbs and perennials and bulb flowers and all kinds of things. I have some strawberries over there and some dahlias, as you can see, and I've just been filling it up. I love the English countryside kind of look where it's just abundant and full of plants. I don't really want it to be just a little plant here and then another plant, several feet over and evenly spaced out. I just want it to be sort of brimming with life. And so because of that, I've always had a love-hate relationship with pruning. There's a lot of times when I don't really want to cut my plants back because I really like them a little bit on the scraggly side. I really dig the shabby chic kind of thing. But I was learning recently, this seems obvious with annuals, that every year your annuals, which are grown from new seeds or bulbs, are they all have new growth, and the things that you would use are new growth. But with perennials, it seems like, at least from a surface level, that the same plant base is producing every year. And I'm learning lately that that is just not the case. That perennials, even though they return every year, all of the fresh things that you would use is new growth. So if the old stuff is not adequately pruned out, it's going to die back and it's going to hinder the new growth of the plant the next year. So as I was learning this, I realized I have a patch of thyme there that is 10 years old now, and it was planted a long time ago, and I just love the creeping thyme as it grows along the ledge, and I'm going to try to cultivate that look. But as I was going through this garden bed trying to prune all my plants and get them into just into shape there, I was noticing there's a very thick layer of all of the previous year's growth that was underneath my thyme plant. So every year it just kind of climbs on top of the growth of the year before, and that's how thyme propagates itself. So I was cutting back a lot of it to give it room to grow, and I brought in mountains and mountains of herbs to dry, which is just so delightful to me. It's going to be great for cooking and for teas all winter long. So I ended up harvesting a lot of thyme, sage, mint, echinacea, black-eyed Susan or rudbeckia. I brought in some flowers for the table as well as some herbs to eat. I had parsley. I'm trying to think of what else is in there. There's all kinds of things in there. So I just really, it was a lot of work, but I really enjoyed just getting out into the garden and just collecting some things to use and some things for the compost. I built a big old pile for the compost that's just going to continue to nourish my plants year after year. I really enjoy just getting my hands in the dirt and working with it, and just seeing just how everything works and how the plants interact with each other. I try to get in here and pull weeds as often as I can, but a lot of times, it's the stuff that I do want there that grows really big, and which is not all bad, but I'm learning that it's actually good for the plant to cut it back every now and then. I've been collecting black-eyed Susan and echinacea or coneflower for my table almost every day, and it's just a huge amount of flowers, and as soon as they start to wilt, I put them back outside. I put them in the flower bed in kind of a tucked away corner so the seeds can propagate if they're going to do that. Not all seeds survive, but if the seeds are going to create new plants, I would love for that to happen in my front flower beds. So these black-eyed Susans are for the table, and for every one you cut, it brings back several more. So it's just a delightful flower to have on your table all summer long. There's nothing that says August to me like black-eyed Susans. And same with the coneflowers. I actually have tinctures made with coneflowers. A tincture is very simple to make and has a lot of health benefits. But I don't make tinctures with all of them. I'm also trying to get them to try to have the beautiful flowers on the table. So this right here is parsley. And there's a ton of it too. I also have some oregano and some marjoram, so it's all kind of mixed in there. You can see the chives right behind it. One of my friends gave me cuttings of aster, and the aster has just taken off this year, which is just awesome. I'd love for all the bare spots to be filled up with this beautiful little flower. And one thing that I haven't done yet but would like to is put an edging around the lower bed in the front. I don't have any edging yet, and that is on my list of on my list of things to do. My list is extremely long by now. The bulb flowers that you see that are kind of to my right are, those are just your summer and spring bulbs. There's some dahlias, some lilies, some tulips, some daffodil, things like that. And they're actually out of sync because I planted them really late this year. But by next year, they will be in sync with all the others. The trick when I'm cutting and tossing is to keep my piles straight. I have piles of things headed for the compost and piles of things headed for the house to go into jars or to be hung upside down to dry. And I just have to stay organized as I'm going through it. There's just so much of this oregano and marjoram and parsley. It's all over. But it's extremely good for the plant to cut it down like this. I did want to leave a low carpet of it behind because I wanted it to continue growing and produce for us next year. I may get another harvest of it this year, maybe closer to fall. And here's the chives. The chives are just beautiful and make such a nice flavor for your cooking. I did end up composting some of my mint because I just have so much of it that there's no way I'm going to use all of it. I was cutting back the fennel here. The fennel has a really nice hefty root, so I was just trying to cut the tops back. Some of them had gotten very woody, so I couldn't use them, but the nice healthy root was down there, so we can get more out of it next year. And this is the lavender. I love lavender. It's such a wonderful fragrance, and it's funny because I'd gone most of my life smelling lavender without actually eating it, and I started putting it in tea, and at first it felt very weird, like I was drinking a fragrance. Like this is something that I would smell, not taste, but I've gotten used to it. I think that if you start drinking lavender tea, you will not go back. I got my little knee pad from Aldi, and it has been a lifesaver because when I'm out there, it's just the little pieces of dirt and rocks really dig into your knees if you don't have any protection. So that little kneeling pad is super helpful for being outside. I just kind of carry it around with me and move it around from place to place. You can see kind of to the left, I have a small Shasta daisy bush. I cannot wait till that one produces. I haven't seen any flowers on it yet, but it should produce flowers pretty soon, I would think. So it was new last year, and I planted it too late to see any flowers last year. So I should see flowers this year. I brewed some green tea. I am a big green tea drinker. I drank green tea all the way through college, and I think it is what got me through college, really. And I just love a good creamy iced tea. When you have extra cream in the summer, it's just so nice to make a good iced tea. So this is actually brewed warm and then poured over ice. I added a little bit of turbinado sugar. You could also use maple syrup, honey, coconut sugar, another healthier sweetener of choice. I added a little cinnamon and ginger. I actually do grow a lot of my own ginger, but this ground ginger came from Aldi. I love this little handheld immersion blender. It's so helpful for so many things. I've made soup, I've made iced tea, I've made all kinds of things. This immersion blender is so helpful. I've used it making so many things, especially when you're dealing with cream and it's just too much to do by hand. You can, but you're going to get a serious arm workout and it's going to take a lot longer. So this immersion blender is super helpful for that. I originally wanted to make a green tea latte, and that was kind of my goal with this project. And I decided that without a steaming wand, it is really hard to call it a latte because a tea latte, like a chai, is made the same way as a regular latte, except it uses tea instead of espresso. And I felt like using the immersion blender instead of the steam wand, which doesn't add any heat, and using tea instead of coffee, I felt like I really couldn't call it a latte anymore. So I'm just calling this a creamy iced tea blend, but it's so delicious. It almost doesn't matter what you call it. There's something about frothing the milk that just makes a huge difference. So maybe having a wand would be on my bucket list someday so I can make some real lattes. But I'm pretty happy with what I can do with this immersion blender. Okay, now I'm going to make whipped cream. Whipped cream is surprisingly so simple. And if you look at the ingredients of whipped cream that you buy in the store, it has high fructose corn syrup. It has all kinds of things in it that you really don't want to be eating. And this is just one or two ingredients. And honestly, you can just whip the cream and don't put any sugar or vanilla or anything into it. Because if you're going to put it in your coffee or put it on a a beautiful cherry pie or something, that stuff already is going to be enough with the cream. So you're not going to miss the sugar. But I added a little sugar to it just because, and a little bit of vanilla. So I love watching the transformation because it goes basically from a thicker liquid all the way to a solid, and the machine reacts to. The machine will actually slow down a little bit because the viscosity has changed so drastically from beginning to end. Here we go. This is just really the texture that you're looking for with whipped cream. With a KitchenAid like this, you can just pour it in, turn it on, and walk away and come back. So it can be going while you're making other foods, especially at Thanksgiving, or just to keep in the refrigerator for your coffee or whatever. It doesn't take a ton of time. It is just perfect on strawberries. I got this little bowl from the Instagram account, the Bay Sandoval, I believe is her name. And she sells little vintage things like this. And I just thought it was so cute. So I ordered it from her a few weeks ago. And it was just adorable. I'm going to put it here into a mason jar for keeping into the fridge. It'll last a little while in the fridge, especially if you have an airtight lid. Obviously, nothing lasts forever, but it will last a little while. A week or so. If you put it in the freezer, it will last longer. But I haven't had the best luck freezing glass, so I would probably use Gladware or Tupperware. I'm going to make some yogurt here. When you have a lot of cream and milk, yogurt is a great thing to make. It's so healthy for your family, and it's just so easy. It practically makes itself. I was really surprised when I learned you could make yogurt at home. I assumed it required something special in terms of ingredients or equipment or something, and it is just super easy. If you make your yogurt and then pour it back into those jars exactly without straining it, you're gonna get 1-for-1. You're gonna get a gallon of milk out of a gallon of yogurt out of a gallon of milk. But if you strain it to make Greek yogurt, your yield is gonna be cut in half. This is my live cultures that I'm adding, and when I make yogurt, I just open the fridge and put every yogurt that I have into the crock pot. So, because I just want my yogurt to be as strong as it can be. It can sit for about 24 hours. By 48 hours, it starts to break down. The live cultures run out of things to eat and it's going to start going bad. But anytime from 12 to, I would say 24 hours or so, you can start straining and putting it in the fridge. So I just save yogurt from my last batch or my most recent batch and put it back in the crock pot. By the time you put the cultures in, you don't want the cultures to die because it's so hot. So it has to be on for 3 hours and then off for enough time for it to cool down a little bit. And once it's cooled down, then you add the live cultures. This is what it looks like after it's been sitting for about 12 hours. That's exactly what you want it to look like. That clear liquid is whey. You can stir it back in, or you can strain it out. If you strain it out, there's so many uses for it. It's very healthy to put into smoothies. It's great for your dogs and cats. Okay, now it has been culturing off, completely unplugged for about 24 hours. I'm just lining a colander with a tea towel. This is like it's thicker than cheesecloth. It's like a flour sack towel kind of thing. I got this one at IKEA. All my red stripe ones came from IKEA. And I'm just going to start scooping it in to make Greek yogurt. So my yield is not going to be a gallon. It's going to be less than a gallon because I am not stirring the whey in this time. I am straining it out. There's so many uses for it. You can use it in your garden. You can use it on your animals. You can use it in any recipe in place of milk or water. Whey is extremely versatile and extremely good for you. The colander, you can't see it as well in this shot, but the colander is sitting in a glass bowl. So you can, if you look under the towel, you can see the whey starting to seep through the towel, through the colander, into the glass bowl. So that's how I collect the whey. I often put whey into my sourdough bread also instead of water, and it's something else for the sourdough cultures to eat. It makes your bread more healthy. So we've reached the end of the video, and I've really enjoyed putting this together for you, and I hope you guys have a great week.
See you next week.